Weaponmaster on the Ranger is actually really cool. So there are a lot of things that came out of this for Ranger. I feel like this is one of the classes that was impacted the most. Maybe the class that was impacted the most, I'm not sure yet. But honestly, Ranger has so many options and different playstyles now that it didn't have in the past. So let's just go ahead and start talking about it. Let me just start by saying Offhand Dagger is amazing and pairs perfectly with the main hand sword. Being able to Dagger 5 into Sword 3 Immobilize makes this just such a great weapon pairing. The main hand is also a really nice Condi option for other Ranger specs, and that just goes for every spec in general. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the Dagger on the Untamed. Now, the Dagger Untamed actually is a really fun playstyle, and I cannot say this enough. This is not an understatement. It is so much fun. The ambush skill is strong and feels really good to use. You have a lot of mobility with the ambush skill and the Dagger 3 leap. Untamed already has mobility, so having like this large amount of mobility feels like a thief. Like you literally feel like you're a thief. You're teleporting around doing your Dagger ambush skills. You're teleporting around on your cantrips. You have stealth from the smoke scale. Honestly, it was just so much fun. It gives the spec an entirely new playstyle that previously was just a power build that you ran with like hammer and greatsword longbow. Like, it just has so much more variety now because daggers are a Condi weapon. You can actually run a celestial build now on the Untamed that is really good. I cannot understate how much fun this build is. Definitely try this build out if you are a fan of Ranger, and if you don't really like Untamed, honestly, I would still suggest giving this a shot because this doesn't play like how I feel like Untamed would. This is a whole different playstyle of Untamed that I haven't seen before. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Druid. Now, Druid finally has a really good condition option for the main hand. Like, Dagger main hand does a ton of Condi damage, and Druid just really lacked that in the past. It didn't really have a great main hand condition weapon, and this Dagger honestly just complements Druid really well. Like, my Dagger 2 mixed with the auto attacks was just melting opponents. It was crazy. And this honestly makes mob Druid builds more viable and less like troll, like, oh, I'm gonna mob you, I'm gonna run away. You can actually kill people now in your mobs, which is just so much easier now that we have a Dagger. And it's really easy to land your Dagger skills thanks to Druids and mobs. Like, the Dagger skills are kind of hard to land depending on what you do, but the immobilization that Druid has in the roots, it's just so much easier to hit them with your Dagger skills. You just melt opponents so easily. And speaking of immobilizations, Dagger Offhand is yet again another immobilize with the main hand sword that Druid can abuse. So you just have a lot of options now that daggers are available. Honestly, on both specs, Untamed and Druid, it just feels great. I will say once again on Untamed that the ambush skill is just, it is amazing. You teleport to your target, you deal an insane amount of burst damage, exploding AoE, it just feels so good, man. So now let's go ahead and move on to the staff. Now, staff on Soul Beast is actually really funny and quite strong. It is a great substitute for the longbow. You lose a bit of range, but the damage cannot be reflected by blocks. I played a more glass cannon Soul Beast build for this, and I was just tearing apart opponents from range with my staff. I was popping Sikkim, one wolf pack. It was just hilarious how I was able to just shoot a laser beam at them and they couldn't avoid the damage. Like, there is no blocking it, you're just gonna get hit by this. It was actually really funny against glass cannon builds that didn't have a lot of defense because you just fried them. I mixed it with the air sigil and it worked out really nicely. It's a literal laser that has a mobility skill on staff 3. Not to mention, it also has a pierce, so it pierces damage on the auto attack as well. So that works really nicely with Soul Beast in that regard, as you are getting more attacks, more one wolf pack, more damage. It just works out really nice. Now for Untamed, I will say that the ambush skill is a really strong pulsing AoE that does a small amount of healing. What this means is that you have a lot of AoE pressure with the staff ambush skill that does a lot of damage, and it applies pressure in the area, so if you have multiple opponents on you, you're able to hit them all at once while you're still staying on your primary target. Now this AoE won't get the job done alone, which what I was doing was I had a greatsword on my back bar. So what I would do is I would use the ambush skill, swap over to my greatsword, and just start unloading on someone while the AoE around me is going off. So I had a lot of offensive pressure on one target and multiple at the same time. And not to mention the healing isn't bad either. Like the healing on the staff unleash is pretty good, and with better stats you could optimize that heal to actually be pretty viable since I was running a full power build. And another thing I will note about this is that a new healing build actually came out in PvE with the ambush skill. It is a quickness heal untamed. I know right now it's not the most optimized, it's not that good right now, but I feel that when players start to optimize it better and maybe we get a few more buffs to it, it could actually be a real thing. Now lastly, let's go ahead and talk about the hammer. Now hammer on Soul Beast feels like a nice bruiser option. You have barrier, immobilize, and knockdowns from the hammer with additional cleave. The CC on the hammer helps with connecting big hits like the Soul Beast Stomp, you know, the big ol' F3, and greatsword abilities that most Soul Beasts tend to run. And a few traits in the Soul Beast trait line actually boost the damage when foes are disabled. So the hammer has a lot of disables. It has immobilize, a knockdown, and you're able to just get a damage boost on Soul Beast with that. Honestly, it just pairs really nicely. It feels like hammer and greatsword are a pretty fun pairing on Soul Beast because you're able to just get in there, CC, and lock down your opponent while you're hitting him with your big Soul Beast ability. You have great mobility when you're merged depending on the pets that you choose, so you're able to get on top of opponents with your hammer and just smash them down. It actually feels pretty good, so hammer Soul Beast, definitely play it if you enjoy Soul Beast and you just want to try something a little new. Now for Druid, I didn't really like the hammer. I don't have any clips here because the footage got corrupted and I didn't feel like going back in and playing hammer Druid. I didn't like it because I couldn't really make it work. The damage was just not there. The damage was just pretty low. If you optimized it with better gear, you probably could make it work because you have immobilize and CC on the hammer, which complements Druid well because lots of players love playing a mob druid, so hammer fits in with that playstyle of just immobilizing your opponent and you're trying to run away and just, you know, just being annoying. And honestly, it works, but for me personally, the damage just isn't there. But it's a really cool idea, so if you like Druid, test out hammer. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. And with all the weapons wrapped up, that's pretty much it for Ranger. I feel like Ranger actually had some really good weapons this time around. Like, daggers are just phenomenal. I went on already about how good they are. I love the daggers. Staff is a pretty funny option on both specs. It feels pretty good. It enabled a whole new playstyle in PvE. And then hammer is just there for if people want some more flavor. It's actually not that bad in PvP. So there's that for you as well. I feel like Ranger actually got the good end of the stick here. This video actually took me a while to make because I was in World v World researching and fighting for so many hours on the Ranger because I don't really play this class. I don't typically enjoy it, but I actually had a lot of fun this time around. And I'm glad that I got to really experience it because it was a lot of fun. I actually kind of like Ranger now that I've tried this. And that's the beauty of the series. Not only am I explaining how the weapons feel, how they play, but some of these classes I don't really play that much. So getting to play them more and kind of sharing my experience with how the weapons feel as someone who doesn't really play the class and how it makes me actually enjoy it more. It feels great, and honestly, I feel like it is a great insight to have. Let me know down below what you think of Ranger Weaponmaster, and if you feel like it was as impactful as I'm making it out to be. Do you like daggers? Because I really like them. Like, do you like how they play on Ranger now? What weapons are you enjoying? What weapons are you not enjoying? Is there anything that I missed? All of that and more below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.